Hey everybody, welcome to the D. Louise book series. I'm Christina Kristina. Happy Friday. It's Friday, so it's Star Trek Friday. I had a Christmas wish. I still have a Christmas wish. It doesn't look like it's going to be coming true. I had hoped for a Christmas miracle of 1,000 subscribers. Those of you who've already subscribed, thank you very much. I do need 900 more. It doesn't look like it's going to happen, but if you could all like and subscribe, everybody that views this video, if you could subscribe and like, and after the new year, you can unsubscribe if you want. I'd rather you didn't. I'd like that Christmas miracle. If you have big pages, if you have big channels, if you influence, if you're an influencer, influence people my way. It's been a year and it hasn't. This is where we stand. You hear those miracle stories about how I did it in a week. Yeah. I can see that coming. All right. So we are on disc 4 of season 4 at episode 189, First Contact. And I have some issues with this. You see, when I first saw this, and I was just looking here, First Contact, I was not looking here at the picture. If I had looked at the picture, I might have gotten it. But when I looked here, I got all excited because I was expecting this. So who knew? Did you know that there were two? There was an episode before the movie. We will do this, but we got to get through the next couple of seasons first. And I hope you will all support me in continuing. If you haven't watched the first 4 seasons, I've been doing them every single week now for months. If you could please check out those videos and like and subscribe. And when we finish all the seasons here, we will go on to the movies and we will get to this one. And it might take a little while. But this is what I thought it was. And it wasn't. And it's gotta. And I will talk about it then. And I hope you'll be around at the end to hear me talk about it. But I feel unsatisfied at the ending with a couple of the characters. I want to know more. My co-host is here. Come here, co-host. Smoke. Come here. Come here. She doesn't want to be on camera. Come here. Fine. I've been talking about this. I'm going to get me some more cats. I lost my comfort care, my emotional support cat a couple of months ago to cancer and seizures. And there are 2 types of cats in the world. Yeah, there's millions of breeds, but there's 2 types. There's the one that I had, who's rare. The one that will come 100% of the time when you call it. The one that wants to be held whenever you want to hold it, will stay in your lap for hours. Then there's every other cat in the world will come when they want to. Will let you hold them when they want to be held. And I'm telling you, you've had this. You picked up a cat, they screamed and yelled, no, I don't want to be held, don't want him. You put them down on the floor, they'll come right back, because then when they come on back, it's on their terms, not yours. Intelligent little felines we've got there. So anyways, season 4, disc 4, episode 189, First Contact. And I'm still a little disappointed it wasn't the movie, but we will get there. Alright, I made a seat for my co-host. You think she's gonna stay? No! So anyways, we're in an alien medical facility, and it's like so many of their words are like our words, and I have some pet peeves. And I know, you gotta go with it. It's sci-fi. But how do these people on another planet actually speak our language? He doesn't have a universal translator on him. So how can he speak to them and they understand him and all that kind of garbage? Yeah, I know. And they use so many of our terms. Again, I know, sci-fi, go with it. So they're like, cold blue, cold brew. Yeah. How many you think there are other planets out there that use the same terminology as we do? Could be code yellow, code red. Um, so they take him down the hallway. Careful, he may have sustained cranial damage. Move him onto the diagnostic pad. Slowly, I got it. Here we go. Slowly, that's good. Need him here. Stat. All right, all right. Careful readings. They are fluctuating. He took a severe blow, possible trauma to the telecephalon, and she's going to start him on 15 octaves of quadrilline. We'll need a complete Dell scan. Whatever that is. And I can't find his cardial organ. What do you mean? I'm reading steady circulation. They use the same terms as we do. There it is, up here in his digestive tract. You've ever seen anything like this? He's missing 3 coastal struts on one side and 4 on the other. Nellium, you think that's something? Look at this. He has digits on his terminus. His fingers. He has fingers and toes. Again, no universal translator. They're using some of the same terms we have. So anyways, I like this shot because it shows 2 people, well, 3, but the other guy locked out, and I like to show the whole room. Riker wakes up. What happened? You're in the crisis room at the Sikla Medical Facility. You've had a severe injury. You're going to be all right. Riker says, I was caught in the riots when the police moved in. They call their law enforcement police, not Garda or any other police term. They call them the police just like we call them the police. Other planets call their military police or military. Just asking. Can you tell me your name? Rivas Jakar. Rivas Jakar, where do you live? In the Marta community on the southern continent. Tavi, you're a long way from home. Do you have any members of your family we should notify? No. Gee, this sounds so American to me. No, I have no family. I can't stay here. I have to get back. Burrell says you're in no condition to leave yet. There are several unusual things about your case, Mr. Jakar. Your cranial lobes, for example, they seem to be surgical implants. Riker says I had cosmetic surgery to connect a genetic. I had cosmetic surgery to connect a genetic birth defect, and these another birth defect with the fingers and toes. Yes, isn't that something? My father were the same way. You want us to believe that all of your abnormalities are inherited genetic traits. Riker says, I understand your confusion. My personal physician is much more familiar with these genetic irregularities. To be honest, I feel better if I was back under her care. Why don't I talk to her about that? What's her name? Crusher. Actually, I'm not sure you'll be able to reach her. Why not? She's taking a sabbatical. They use the same terms for vacation there, too. Well, we'll do the best we can for you. Oh, there's another thing. We found this curious device in your clothes. They take out a phaser. Why couldn't they have found the insignia? Oh, I know, plot line. If they'd have had the thing, he could have contacted the Enterprise. But no, we got to stretch it out. Um, Oh, it's just a toy. I was taking it home as a present. I thought you didn't have any family. For a neighbor's child. Was there anything else found? I had one piece of jewelry, a small metal pin. No, I'm sorry. This was all we found. So then they're all walking in the hallway. Genetic irregularities? That thing isn't even the same species as we are. You know, there are lots of people that are born with their stuff together or an extra toe or you know, some, maybe twins didn't separate correctly and they're attached or something. That's no reason to, they're getting all upset over his fingers. Keep your voice down. The last thing we need is a panic in here over it's all the space flights. They've attracted creatures from outer space. But that's exactly the kind of thing I don't want to hear. What are you going to do? With all the medical facilities available, why did he have to end up here? Narim, I think we ought to call Central Security. Beryl, I'm not calling anybody yet, not until we've done a lot more, a lot more. I want his story checked out. Run a complete search through the medical library. Be absolutely certain there's never been anything like him. Niram, what if there's more of them? They could be everywhere. Burrell, cordon off this wing. I want security on his door 29 hours a day. And I want this kept quiet. Oh, so they have different hours than we do. Their sun lasts a little bit longer than ours. Well, that's a little different. So this is the city. I wonder where they filmed this. Is it blue screen, or is it a real city? Because that looks like a nuclear power plant type situation. So we'll have to see. Okay, so it's really weird. I read this description somewhere that the chancellor is supposed to be a Woodrow Wilson quality. I want to know, I guess, when this first aired, would there be anybody alive that would remember what Woodrow Wilson was like? And we didn't have the TV that we had back then. So would the common folk know what he was like? I don't get it. But anyway, um, then the Coroller, and there's some other, Marasta is the Minister of Science. She's giving a demonstration over here. She says 12.4 after launch, the warp field generator will be activated. Durkin says that's when it would break the light barrier. Marasta says, yes, Chancellor, if we're successful, the craft will leave our star system in a matter of minutes and will be on its way toward the Garrus system. And Corolla says, and then what? And then, Corolla, we will see what's there. Durkin says, how long, Marasta? We have a prototype design for the warp engine. It could simply be a matter of building the actual production units. If I get your approval today, 10 months, maybe less. Corolla says, Chancellor, I admit Marasta's enthusiasm for her work is seductive, but perhaps we're moving too fast. Your opponents will see this as another example of your determination to pull us further from our traditional ways. And there are a lot of people today that are still, we belong on the ground. And then there was millions of people that thought the earth was flat and we were going to fall off too. Durkin says, my opponents look back as I look forward. I cannot believe that my people would choose to retreat after all we've done. Marasta says, I agree. Corolla says, the people were willing to accept your social reforms because they believe in you, Chancellor. But there are many who say we have gone far enough. All of these new ideas, new technology, and now space travel, it confuses them, frightens them. Durkin says, I will not allow them to remain in the Dark Ages. The war program will proceed as you have outlined, Marasta, and then we will slow down Corolla to let everyone catch their breath, including you. Okay, so then Marasta's working in her lab. She's the scientist. Imagine your surprise when you're working in your lab. Picard says, Marasta, yeah. Marasta says, yes. Troy says, please don't be alarmed at our appearance. Picard says, my name is Jean-Luc Picard. This is my associate, Deanna Troi. Marasta says, what are you? Troy says, we've come with some very important information. Marasta says, what about? Picard says, about space, about the universe you are preparing to enter. Troy says, we are from a federation of planets. Captain Picard is from a planet called Earth, 2,000 light years from here. And I am from a planet called Beta Z. Marasta's like, uh-huh. Picard says, we have been monitoring your progress toward warp drive capability. When a society reaches your level of technology and is clearly about to initiate warp travel, we believe it is right that the time is right to make first contact. We prefer meeting like this rather than a random confrontation in deep space. Troy says, we've come to you first because you are a leader in the scientific community. Scientists can generally accept our arrival more easily than others. Picard says, we almost always encounter shock and fear on this sort of mission. We hope you will be able to facilitate our introduction. Marasta's like, is this a joke? Did Lupo put you up to this? Picard's like, oh no, it's certainly no joke. As you can see, we are quite physically different from the Malcorians, and with your permission, I'm prepared to prove it. Marasta's like, I would like that. So I've seen some stuff that indicates that a whole bunch of stuff was cut out of this. But they beam up to the Enterprise, and they're in Ted Forward. And Marasta's like, it's everything I ever dreamed of. When I was a child, my parents would take me to the planetarium, and we would sit in the dark, and it was as if I was on a spaceship on my way to another world to meet people on other planets. Parts of me keeps waiting for the lights to come up and the program to end. How did you know about me? And a lot of what she's saying reminds me of Raj in The Big Bang Theory. He does end up hosting a program in the planetarium, and it just reminded me a lot of that. So then they go sit down, but I like this because it shows all three when they get to be sitting down. It's like face to face. Because says we learn as much as possible about a planet before first contact. Troy says one of the things we do is monitor broadcast signals, your journalism, your music, your humor. Try to better understand you as a people. Marasta says, I hate to think how you would judge us based on our popular music and entertainment. Can you imagine? All right. So these aliens come to our planet and they could hear Barbra Streisand. On the other hand, they could hear Metallica, AC/DC, and get their brains blown out by the music. You know? Just saying. Well, how would you like someone to be first greeted by this planet? Some easy jazz, some Barbra Streisand, some early Madonna. Not late Madonna, early Madonna. Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston. Or would you rather them listen to Ozzy Osbourne and Metallica and Pink Floyd and all those heavy rockers that just scream? Oh, there she goes again. She gets to see her planet from outer space. You want to go to the moon? Go look at the Earth? We have satellites that take pictures of the Earth. Just saying. question. Do you ever think we'll get to this point? Do you ever think we'll get to be able to be in space ourselves without spacesuits and all that kind of stuff? I mean, when Zephyr Cochrane did his thing, he didn't have a spacesuit on, and he was supposed to be like 300 years in the past. But do you think we'll ever get zero gravity? Maybe 1,000, 2,000 years from this point, we'll get like this. I mean, if you think about it, it took like several thousand years for the wheel, for fire, for electricity, for a battery. All those things took hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. People were afraid of advancement. They thought it was witchcraft and voodoo and all that kind of stuff. And then from like the 1950s forward, we've exploded. I guess we've had a society by this point that accepts change, and the microwave and the cell phone and videos and YouTube and the internet, and we've just exploded. How much further do you think we'll go? Do you think we'll get here? Do you think we'll have ships like this? Do you think someone will go, hey, remember Star Trek, the first show, they had those flip phones? And now they exist and they're modern. So how long do you think it'll take us to get to this point, though, with all the warp capability? How long do you think it's possible? Picard says, indeed, we do get an incomplete picture, which is why we also do surface reconnaissance. Marastis says, you've had people on our planet, Troy says, for several years. Picard says, these are specialist, highly trained observation teams specifically identical to yourselves and therefore able to blend naturally into society. You see, we have discovered that most hazardous aspect of these missions is the lack of sufficient information. Marastis says, you don't have to explain. I understand, although not everyone on my planet would. They would think you were trying to infiltrate our society. Picard says, well, there is a difficulty here, one that has forced us to accelerate this entire process. One of our people is missing, my first officer, Commander William Riker. He was down on the planet's surface coordinating with the observation team. The final details of contact, he disappeared. My people have made inquiries, but we have not been able to locate him. If there's anything you can do to help. Marastis says, of course, where was Riker's last known location? Troy says, the capital city. He was there under the name of Revis Jakara, a tourist from the Marta community. Marastis says, we must find him before someone realizes what he really is. If this gets out prematurely, it could seriously complicate matters. Our ideology is based on the assumption that the Macarian is a supreme life form and our world is the center of the universe. Where have I heard that before? How many people believe that the universe revolves around Earth and the sun and the galaxy and the Milky Way? And we need some more. What would happen if we get SG-1 on here? Could we share the gate? Do we need starships if we have gates? It would be interesting. I'm hoping to see some SG-1 next year. I don't know if it'll happen. I've kind of lost faith in it. There's so much stuff going on with Amazon and MGM. I just don't know. What do you guys think? Like, you know what? Look, if I reach 1,000 subscribers by Christmas, Stargate will happen. If I don't reach 1,000 subscribers by Christmas, it ain't gonna happen. Well, actually, I probably will never reach 1,000 subscribers. That's my thoughts on Stargate. While I hope and wish and hope and wish and hope and wish, it's like Charmed. We finally got our Charmed, but it wasn't the one we wanted. The fans wanted it, and the show tanked. Yeah, there were some people that really liked it, but the original fan base, that was the Halliwell core, wanted the originals, and we didn't get that. And now they're getting older, and we may not be able to get that. It's just, they just don't care. The powers that be don't care what the fans want. They just don't. Although there was enough issue during COVID. If you watch Star Trek Picard, don't watch seasons 1 and 2. They just don't matter. If you like it, watch it, fine, go ahead. The only season that matters, a true fan will say that the only season that matters is season 3. It's the only season that matters. We all believe in canon. I'm sorry, we do. Solid, firmly in canon. So your arrival will change our entire understanding of life, and some will not want it to change. Picard says, what about Durkin? Durkin will be open-minded but cautious. I strongly suggest you do not discuss your surveillance teams with him, at least not right away. Picard says, but with the disappearance of Commander Riker, wouldn't it be prudent? Marasta says, Captain Picard, I must ask you to trust me on this. If you tell the Chancellor about Commander Riker, you will undermine everything you hope to accomplish here. Durkin would assign Crayola, our Minister of Security, to find him. Crayola has his own political agenda. He will perceive you as the greatest threat our people have ever known, and he will not hesitate to use Riker to prove he is correct. So then we're back in the medical facility. And there's overlapping conversations going on. From another planet, hundreds of them invasions. It doesn't make sense that he's the only one. Think about it, it's true. I'm sure they have a whole. Burrell said, I said this was kept a secret. And Tavis says, know him. Burrell says, it's getting out of control. I don't know what else he is, but he's still a patient in this medical facility, and we have a responsibility for his care and recovery. Remind them of that, will you? Sorrell says, they're not going to be able to contain this much longer. Burrell says, I know. Tavis said, if people get scared enough, anything could happen. So the doctor goes in to Riker's room, and he tries to have a one-on-one with Riker. And a part of me thinks that Riker should have come clean a little bit with him. Maybe the doctor could have protected him before it was too late. Because once the other people find out it's too late and the thing is written, yeah, plotline, I know, plotline. Burrell says, Mr. Jakar, we have been unable to confirm anything you've told us. No physician's name Crusher is on file on this planet. Your address in Marta is an eating establishment. The cook has never heard of Revis Jakar. Riker says, well, obviously there's been some misunderstanding. Burrell says, there's a growing number of people on the other side of that door who believe you're not one of us. Not one of you. That you're from another planet. Are you, Mr. Jakar? Riker says, do you realize what you're saying? Burrell says, I know how it sounds, and I'm not anxious to make a fool of myself, Mr. Jakar. This new era of spaceflight, it fires imagination. People see unidentified vessels in the sky that turn out to be weather balloons. Again, our terms. Do you think other planets have weather balloons? What other chances that other planets across the galaxy will blame it on a weather balloon? Really? You want to believe that other planets in the universe will call it a weather balloon like we do? They turn out to be satellite spies. He should have come forward. He just should have come forward. Riker says it's far more likely that I'm a weather balloon than an alien. Burrell says our medical journals have documented several cases of genetic mutation in recent history. Some unusual physical disfigurations have occurred. I guess I'm another case for the medical journals then. Burrell says, perhaps, but you, Mr. Jakara, are hiding something. Unless you tell me the truth about yourself, this rumor will persist and grow and could even become dangerous, especially to you. Again, she's going off. I'm going to make her part of my videos. Bang, bang, bang. He should have come clean. So, Apparently there was a little bit more here too, but we didn't see that. So he's doing the stamping stuff, and there's a voiceover. Chancellor Minister Yell of the Space Bureau would like to introduce you to someone. Durkin says, call her back and see if the Vice Chancellor will do. The voiceover goes, they're out here waiting to see you, sir. Durkin's like, all right, send them in. Always time to meet your friends, Miranda. And then she walks in and she says, Chancellor, I think you might want to clear your afternoon schedule for this. Now, I really feel like we're missing the whole story here. I think there's so much left out. There's so much unsaid here. And all of a sudden he's like, well, and this is the bridge. And they get taken away by the view. So, you know, they got a nice view of their planet. And he's like, oh my God. If they have all this technology, surely they have satellites. Surely they've seen pictures of their planet. We've seen pictures of our planet. Just saying. He's showing them around the bridge. This is our environmental and engineering stations, our mission operations, our two science stations, and data. Allow me to introduce Chancellor Avik Durkin and Space Administrator Yeah. And Data says Chancellor. Minister Picard says Commander Data is my second officer. Mirasta says he's an android chancellor, a constructed being, a machine. In a manner of speaking, the term is artificial life form is more accurate. Durkin says, Captain Picard, is there someone we might speak together without distraction? Picard says, certainly. I forgot. So before Picard and the Chancellor go in the ready room, and then Mirasta's like, Chancellor, with your permission, I will beam back to the surface. I have several matters to attend to. Durkin says, not a word to anyone about this, Mirasta. Mirasta's like, of course. Picard says, Mr. Data, will you escort her to the transporter room? And then Mirasta says, has there been no communication from Commander Riker, Data? No, Minister. He has not returned to our designated transport coordinates. We have continued to scan the capital city without success. Right. So then, now someone needs to tell me somewhere. I think I'm pretty sure it was next gen. But I don't think it was SG1. No, I'm pretty sure it was next gen. So somebody help me out here. There were 4 friends or something, and they had this bottle, and when the last one died, they would drink a toast to the rest of them or something like that. It's a vague memory. We'll probably come across it in the next, but that's what I thought this was. You know, the bottle. Why is he using it for that? Why he says why he's using this for this, but it just doesn't seem. I don't know. I just didn't. I don't know. Just didn't like it. Because I kept remembering that other scene that they drank to lost friends or something. I forget. If somebody remembers what I'm talking about, you can put it in the comments. There was like 4 friends and they survived something, and then they got the bottle of wine and they would toast. Something like that. So anyway, they go in the captain's ready room, and he says, I've been saving this for a special occasion. My brother on Earth produces a fruit known as grapes, which he turns into wine. He's really quite good at it. Chancellor, we have a tradition called a toast, a drink to salute one's friends in good fortune, and I would like to propose a toast to our new friendship. Durkin says, we have something very much like this here on Malachor 3. Picard says, I think we shall find we have such much in common. And Durkin says, and much that is not in common. Picard says, an opportunity to learn from one another. Durkin says, you speak the language of diplomacy very well. Captain, it's a language I appreciate and understand, but I have learned not to always trust it. Picard says, trust requires time and experience. Durkin says, my world's history has recorded that conquerors often arrive with the words, we are your friends. Picard says, we are not here as conquerors, Chancellor. Durkin says, what do you want? Picard says, the beginning, but how we proceed is entirely up to you. Durkin says, if my wish should conflict with yours, there will be no conflict. Durkin says, and if I were to tell you to leave and never return to my world, we would leave and never return, Chancellor. We are only here to help guide you into a new era. I can assure you that we will not interfere with the natural development of your planet. That is, in fact, our prime directive. Durkin says, I would infer from that directive that you do not intend to share all this exceptional technology with us. Picard, it is not the only whole meaning, but it is part of it. Durkin says, is this your way of maintaining superiority? Picard says, to instantly transform a society with technology would be harmful and it would be destructive. Durkin says, you're right, of course. I'm overwhelmed, Captain. Picard, I'm overwhelmed. I go home each night to a loving wife and 2 beautiful daughters. We eat evening meal together as a family. I think that's important. They always ask me if I've had a good day. And how will you answer them tonight, Chancellor? Durkin says, I will have to say this morning I was the leader of the universe as I knew it. This afternoon I am only a voice in a chorus, but I think it was a good day. You know, Fraser's wife, it was BB Newirth, should not be hanging around with Riker. And how does no one walk in on him during all this? And what was it? And does she have his children? And do her offspring have fingers? So he wakes up and he's gonna break the window, and she's like, there are guards out there, you'll never escape that way. And she says, I'm not afraid of you. And Riker's like, good, because there's nothing to be afraid of. Landon says, we shouldn't fear the unknown, we should embrace it. Riker says, can you help me get out of here? Landau says, are you really an alien? Is it all right to tell me? No, I'm not an alien. Landau says, I don't believe you. You are an alien. Riker says, I really have to leave. Landau says, I could divert the guard's attention. You might have a chance if you took the service exit down the hall to the right. To the right, all right, let's do it. Why should I? Well, you know why. Because I don't belong here. Because I have to get back to my ship in space. Lana says, I believe you. Riker says, now will you help me? If you make love to me. What? I've always wanted to make love with an alien. Listen, Miss Landau, I really have to get going. All the other aliens are expecting me. Oh, it's not so much to ask, and then I'll help you escape. Riker says, it's not that easy. There are differences in the way that my people make love. Landau says, I can't wait to learn. But Landau says, it's your only way out of here. My alien, something's happened to him. I think he's dead. Oh, wait a minute. I skipped a part. So you're led to believe that this situation goes on. Wasn't there one race that just like held hands or something, and that was it? I forget. He arranges a distraction, gets the guard to leave, and as he's leaving, they find him, and he's like, "Hey, stop! Stop him! He's escaping. The alien's escaping." Burrell says, "Stop it, all of you!" They start kicking him. They get him in a pile. They knock him unconscious. And Trevor says they've aggravated the injury to his renal organ. He's bleeding internally. Garrett says, get him into a cervicale and call Central Security. This has gone too far. Then we're back in the minister's office. And what happened? He said, the leader Picard has made it clear that how we proceed is entirely our own decision. Corolla says, you cannot possibly be suggesting surrender, Chancellor. Marasta says they are not hostile. Corolla says, Marasta, you are incredibly naive. Can you be so enraptured with the notion of space travel that you are blind to the threat they represent? Durkin says, I have seen their vessel, Corolla. If they chose to be hostile, I don't think we'd be standing here now. Corolla says, why should they use force when they are ready to lay down in fear? Krogan says, I do not lay down in fear, to them or to you, Corolla. Corolla says, Chancellor, I mean no disrespect, but I repeatedly warned you about your policies, taking us so quickly where we had no business going in the first place. New philosophies, new economics, new technology. There still may be people who value our traditional way of life, and I, for one, am willing to die to defend it. Hint. And do you think the people felt like this with Neil Armstrong and the guys? Do you think that there was talk around the table for or against Neil Armstrong at this point? What do you think? Have to go back and read the newspapers to see what the point of view was back then. Maresta says, open up your eyes, Carolla. We are part of a greater community we cannot ignore. Carolla says, you would ignore them as they infiltrate and spy on us. Durkin says, what are you saying, Carolla? Carolla says, we captured one of their spies. Maresta confesses, he's Captain Picard's first officer, Commander Riker. Durkin says, you knew about this, Maresta? Maresta says, yes, he's been missing for 2 days. I told Captain Picard not to discuss it because I was afraid this would happen. Durkin says, what else do you know, Maresta? Everything. Maresta says, they've been on our planet observing us for several years. Years? Imagine what they have done. Influenced our young, stirred up dissension. Maresta says, they're collecting information. Durkin says, where is Commander Riker now? Carolla says, he's at the Sikla Medical Facility recovering from surgery. He suffered head injuries in an attempt to escape. He will recover consciousness in a few hours. So Carolla goes to his hospital room to interrogate him. He's the bad guy here. He's the instigator. Carolla says, will he survive? Carolla said, I didn't think he would survive the injuries. Carolla says, I have to interrogate him before he dies. Carolla says, at least give him time to regain some strength. Come back tomorrow. Carolla says, it cannot wait until tomorrow. Maresta says, Carolla, we can get help from his ship. With their medical technology, he might recover. Carolla says, we're not giving him back. He's the one advantage we have now. Use your drugs to revive him. Burrell says those drugs increase cardiac rate and vascular pressure. That's the last thing we want to do right now. Maresta says it will probably be enough to kill him. You can't do it. Carolla says revive him. Burrell says, I'm a physician, minister. I don't know much about affairs of state, but he is a living, intelligent being. I don't care if the chancellor himself calls down here. I have sworn an oath to do no harm, and I will not. Gee, our doctors do that too. Do you think doctors on other planets do that too? Do you think all doctors in the universe do that? Swear that they will do no harm? Just a thought. What about plastic surgeons? Well, they help. They help. So Durkin's a little upset that she kept this information from him. So after that big reveal to the board, Carolla goes in and he wants him to revive Riker. And Carolla's like, they're gonna kill him. And Carolla's like, revive him, and or we'll get somebody to replace you. So they replace him. Picard's in the minister's chancellor's office, and Durkin says, you are punctual. Picard says, I know how busy you are. Durkin says, do you? I think you are a great deal more know about me than I know about you. In what respect? Durkin says, you speak of trust and peace and working together to enter a new era. At the same time, you conduct secret surveillance posing as Macallians. Picard says, Commander Riker. Durkin says, Commander Riker. Picard says, Maresta felt it would be a mistake to discuss. Yes, she's tried to accept responsibility. Picard, you're right. It was my error, not hers, Chancellor. No starship mission is more dangerous than first contact. We never know what we face when we open the door to a new world. How will we be greeted? What exactly the dangers will be? Centuries ago, a disastrous contact with the Klingon Empire led to decades of war. It was decided then that we would do surveillance before making contact. It was a controversial decision. I believe it prevented more problems than it created. Durkin says, I can appreciate the logic of your position, Captain, but it would seem a full disclosure after contact would have been in order. Picard said, in time there would have been full disclosure. I know I can only ask you to believe that. On other worlds, it is not even an issue, but here everything our observers reported indicated that the people of this world would almost certainly react negatively to our arrival. We could see that even our surveillance might even be interpreted as an act of aggression. I hope that we would have found Commander Riker before you did, so this matter would not complicate our introduction. It was a mistake. Durkin says, yes, a mistake I might have made in your place. I rather like it, actually. Like it. Durkin says that you make mistakes like any man. Picard says, Chancellor, I've made some fine ones in my time. Now I must ask you, will you release my officer? Durkin says, we'll talk again later, Captain. And then the captain beams up. Now, I want to point out here, Durkin says, you make mistakes like any man. So they use the word human too on this planet, but they're not human. They're a different race. So why don't they say Macorian or Mal or something like that? They refer to their species as man. So they're not human. So where did they get their terminology from? You see? I know, plotline. But I'm just saying that he could have said something else, Macorian or male maybe. But he said man. I'm just saying. So they fire the other guy. The guy in the white coat who's ambitious and wants to climb the corporate ladder, that doesn't like his mamby-pamby boss who's doing the right thing. He's the evil one, and he wants to grow and progress, and he don't care who he steps on. And this one doesn't care either. He's afraid. He's afraid of change. There she goes again. No matter when I do my video, she's going off. Bing, bing, bing. But he's the evil one. He's afraid of change. There are lots of people in this country that are afraid of change too. And there were people afraid of change in the 40s and the 50s. And the 1800s were superstitious and afraid of the wheel and afraid of electricity and afraid of the gas and the battery and the whole 9 yards. I'm afraid of what's going to happen next year if Cheetos gets in office. But anyway, we may really be stuck in the Dark Ages after that point. So he wants to interrogate Riker first, and he's got a plan to destroy everything. He's the evil one. Back in the Chancellor's office, Marasta says, thank you for seeing me. Durkin says, if I did not depend on you so much, your expertise in space matters, I would have asked for your resignation. Marasta says, I felt I was acting in the best interest of our people, Chancellor. Durkin says, when you are selected to occupy this office, then you'll have the privilege of deciding the best interest of our people. People! He calls them people. Why doesn't he say Malcorians? He says people. So other planets refer to their people as people. I'm just saying. Where was I? Lost my spot. Durkin says, I cannot afford to be the eyeless you are, Marissa. Marissa says, Riker. Durkin says, I'm prepared to release Riker after we interrogate him. Marissa says, are you prepared for him to die? Chancellor, his injuries are extremely serious. A mob at the medical center almost killed him. Corolla has ordered drugs to be used to revive him for questioning, drugs that are dangerous for him. Without medical aid from his ship, I believe Riker will not survive this day. You must tell Picard where he is. In Riker's room, Corolla says, you lied since the moment of your capture, and I believe you're lying now, Commander. Riker says, no, we are here on a mission of peace. Corolla says, noble creatures, why do peaceful people develop such lethal weapons? Do you still insist it is a toy? An interesting toy, to be sure. Riker says it's only used for defense. Tell me something. If this was Klingon, would they be saying Klingon instead of people? Would they still be saying people? Or would they be saying Klingon? You see what I'm saying here? The wrong terminology for accuracy. Yeah, I know it's for enjoyment and plotline and all. But you could really get picky with it. Because he keeps saying people. I mean, if it was Klingons, you call like I guess Klingons are people, but would they use that in the terminology? Would they go, you Klingons, or would they go, you people? Because I feel, it's my POV, that if they were in a room, they would go, you Klingons. They wouldn't go, you people. They would refer to the human half as the people and the Klingons as Klingons. So why are they not saying Malkonians? You see what I'm saying here? Now, where was I? I lost my spot. Like, Corolla, perhaps like many conquerors, you believe your goals to be benevolent. I cannot. However you would describe your intentions, you can still prevent the end to my way of life. I cannot permit that to occur. Eventually, Durkin will choose to welcome your people with open arms and eyes closed. I must force him down another path. When they find us, I will be dead, killed by your weapon. The lines will be drawn. A peaceful accord will no longer be an option. Riker says no. Corolla says for my people. And he takes Riker's hand, put him on the thing, and shoots himself. He thinks he's committing suicide. Get me 3 octanes of beryllium. Nilam says I have circulation pattern. I'm very weak. Beverly beams in with Worf and another guy. Beverly says, I'm a physician. Don't be frightened. What happened? Commander Riker is near death. I need to get him back to the ship. Picard says, acknowledge. Beverly says, and there's a Malkorian male with a phaser wound in his upper chest. I need to get him back as well. Picard says, we'll meet you on the Enterprise. Picard out. She says it correctly. Malkorian male. She doesn't say Malkorian human because he's not human. He's Malkorian. You see what I'm saying here? So they meet back up on the Enterprise, and they're in sickbay. Beverly says they're both going to be okay. We were able to stabilize Will. If we'd been any later, the ending is obvious. Corolla, Beverly says he was never in any real danger. The phaser was on stun. Marissa says stun. Picard says it is a defensive weapon. Have you been able to assert what happened? Beverly says based on the angle of impact, it suggests that Corolla had his left hand on the phaser weapon when it went off. Durkin, they were struggling for the weapon. Beverly says Commander Riker was in no position to offer any kind of struggle answer. Marissa says Corolla was trying to be a martyr, and then he wakes up. Bet he's disappointed. I guess he's a little disappointed he lived. He thought he was going to be a martyr, but he did actually achieve what he wanted to achieve. He just didn't die for it. He's going to live to see that he achieved what he wanted to achieve and to stop their space travel. So he's going to get his wish, and he's going to be alive to see it, which is probably a good thing, but he's a horrible person. All right, yeah, he did it, he didn't want to improve things. There are so many people that want to prevent they like things the way they are. They don't like change. There's a lot of people like that in this world. A lot. Now, I want to know what happens. And you're left, they always leave it to your imagination to figure out what happens. The biggest what happens is after Voyager, and we were all up in arms. They could have given us an extra 10 minutes, and they didn't. So you have to get the book for that, and we'll discuss that when we get to Voyager. But, so they're in Picard's ready room. Durkin says, Marasta, it goes against every instinct in my being, but my people are not ready to accept what you represent. Everything that happened at the hospital proves it. Corolla is the best evidence of all. We must slow down and allow all those like him to join us in the present before we move into the future. Marasta says, but when we encounter other beings in space, our people must be ready. The war program will have to be delayed. We will divert more resources into education and social development to prepare for the day when we are ready. Melissa says, Chancellor, I strongly disagree. Durkin says, I know, Captain, you once said that if I ask you to leave, you would leave without hesitation. I'm afraid I must ask you to do just that. Picard said, it is your decision, Chancellor. I must say I regret that I won't be having the opportunity of knowing your people better. Durkin says, we are a good people, Captain, a society with much potential. Once we cross the threshold of space, we will have to give up the self-importance, the conceit that we are the center of the universe, but this is not the time for now. We will have to enjoy the sweet innocence. Picard says, but how will you keep us a secret when so many have seen and heard so much? And he goes through what some of the stuff that's happened on this planet. The stories will be told for many years, I have no doubt. A ship that made contact of an alien who was held prisoner in the medical facility. There will be charges of government conspiracy. Some of the witnesses will tell their tales, and most people will laugh at them. Go back and watch their more interesting fiction on the daily broadcast. It will pass. Marissa says, I'm sorry to say he's probably right. Captain Picard, I have one last request. Take me with you. Durkin says she will be unhappy with the restrictions I place on her at home. Picard says, we may not be back here in your lifetime, and I have to believe that you cannot be fully prepared for the realities of space travel. Marissa says, I have been prepared for the realities of space travel since I was 9 years old, sitting in a planetarium. Picard says, Mr. Worf, to my ready room. Worf comes in. Picard says, escort Chancellor Durkin to the transporter room, Lieutenant, and then assign quarters to Minister Yao. She'll be remaining on board. Does she get her stuff? Does people know? Does he tell where she went? Does anybody know where she went? Does she just vanish off the face of the earth? That's a whole rumor thing to go. And you never see her again. How does she do? What is she, what's her first week like? What's her first 24 hours like? What's the reality of her situation like? We'll never know. So that's the end of First Contact. We've done The Devil's Due. We've done Clues. We have finished First Contact, which was not this one or this one. But we will do these when we get there. We haven't gotten there yet. We still got several seasons to go through here yet. And next week we are doing Galaxy's Child. And for those who want to know, years ago, I bought a tapestry for $10. What do you think? It's just a forest. That's all it is. It's just a forest. See? Just a forest. $10. It covers the white cabinets. I gotta fix it. It's crooked. Where's my thing? So, I hope you enjoyed this. It was a fun episode. It was interesting. I like to complain. I hope you'll be with us for Galaxy's Child next week. And please hit the like and subscribe. Thank you.